Hi, everybody. It's Jenny, the Career and Resilience Coach, and I have a few slides to go over with you on some ideas about job searching during this time. I first want to start by talking about career development paths. Previous generations really had a very linear career path, and it looked more like a ladder. They had, they got their degree, or they got some education, training, they got a job, got promotion, and went to retirement. There was disruptors throughout those stages, like war, political agendas, technology, and now pandemics. Moving forward into the more the 21st century careers, it's going to be much more non-linear. And this is kind of what the careers will look like going forward. In previous generations, we had about 6 to 8 career changes. This generation will have about 40. So the idea that change is rapid and that your ability to pivot is going to be really critical in making use out of this non-linear career paths. So a couple of things just to keep in mind when you're looking at this new career shift. You do not have to have it all figured out. This picture should show you that actually a long-term goal may not be the best strategy, right? What you're looking for right now is the fit for right now. There's going to be many different changes that COVID will bring. And so it's really going to be what's going to happen with those changes? Where's the opportunity going to be, right? It will require you to be able to pivot easily and adapt to change in this new career path, especially with COVID. And the good news is that you just spent a year doing that and proving that you have the ability to do that. With a non-linear career path, you have more power over disruptors. You have more of a higher network, you have diversity of experience, and you'll be able to pivot and move throughout jobs easier. So a couple things I just wanted to go over, and these are concerns that I've heard from students over the years, but in particular students during job searching during COVID. There is always jobs out there. Our economy is based on humans, and humans will always need something. So there will always be jobs out there. We just need to get a little bit more creative in finding out where they are and where they will be in this big change. I also want to just point out that you can plan, you can know all your skills, and you can do your job search, but please be mindful that your instincts and chance events matter. I had a student once who was job searching. We decided to put her resume down for that week and just focus on being out. So she left the appointment, she went to the coffee shop, ordered a coffee, realized the person sitting next to her was hiring someone for a research job, and she got the job. So that also means that because there's chance events down there, it's really hard for you to measure your success, and everyone's job search will be different. Some of your colleagues and classmates will get a job right away because it's the job that's meant to be theirs. And you may be one towards the end. It is no measure on your ability to job search. Sometimes these things just happen in your career search. Success is also really hard to measure because you don't have tangible results. So my suggestion there is to keep track of every single thing that you do. If you attend a conference, if you have a conversation with somebody, because we don't know what's happening on the back end and we don't know what conversations are happening. But if we keep a log of all the things that we are doing, it helps us step back and say, okay, I've got some accomplishments here this week. Something is bubbling. When we're going through, the labor market is going through a big shift and a big change, it's really important to be prepared to think about your role more broadly. So maybe marketing roles aren't as in demand right now, but maybe communication roles are. So maybe you have to shift your skill set a little bit. Maybe you want to work in the finance industry, in the banking industry, but those jobs aren't hiring. Where else can you get skills and experiences using your finance and that you can able to transfer back into the banking when the jobs are there? In periods of shift in the economy, you want to make sure that you can also consider other things besides full-time employment. So a lot of the times companies will do short-term contracts. Maybe you'll do freelance work. Maybe there's a side project you can help someone on to make some extra money. Those are all experiences that can lead to deeper and richer network and experience that you didn't even know were there. These are all things that I've seen students do successfully. So I just want to talk to you about what is job search. So you can certainly check on the websites and apply online to anything that you see posted. But I want to make sure that you're aware that there's lots of other positions out there. That's why this image of an iceberg is so valuable here, because many of the jobs available are hidden, they're underneath. So a couple of things we need to do in a job search is really collect career intel, engagement, and to really know your strengths and know what's needed out there and how you can solve their problems. So if, 80% of the positions out there are not posted, I want to make sure you're putting your energy into your job search that's divided among the opportunities. Don't put 100% of your energy into posted positions because they account for 20%, especially in a shift in a career, in a shift in the economy when we're not really quite sure where it's going to go. Employers are going to be reluctant to hire full time and they may be reluctant to post. So they may be focusing on their networks. So just think about that going forward. When you're collecting career intel, there's probably a lot of questions that you have that's going to help you to analyze what's going on in the marketplace and where the opportunities are. So some of the questions that you may have are, what companies are hiring? What's the impact that COVID's going to have on my industry? What positions still exist out there? I just did a session with the Masters of Library Science. You imagine how much their industry has changed in the last 50 years, right? You're probably curious about what skill set is in demand out there, right? And how do people in your field connect? Is there a professional association? Is there conferences? Is there online journals or forums that you need to be engaged in? All things that's going to help you to figure out where the opportunities are. So when we're collecting career intel, we're kind of focusing on three different areas. So first is people. So these are people who may have insight into what's going on. This may be people who just need to know that you exist. This is people through your LinkedIn, through your classmates. This is all about starting to gather a list of who the people are that are in your web and in your sphere. The next thing is, who are the employers? You're collecting intel on companies and who are the industry leaders. Who are the companies who are hiring. This is where you're looking at business directories, you're looking at paper and publications and media. I had a student a couple of years ago who was looking through the coast and noticed that there was 10 companies named in Halifax who were getting funding for green jobs. And she was looking for careers in this new and emerging field. So she looked those companies up and she connected with them before they even posted a job. She knew they were going to be coming down the line and she got an interview. The other question is, what's happening in the industry? Is there professional associations? Who's on the LinkedIn that you need to be aware of? Set up alerts, volunteer. I had a student once who was looking into community development. So he looked up anything that was happening in the community around that. And he noticed there was a local community meeting on waterfront infrastructure. And he attended. And just by attending, he got an internship, which led to a job. I also dealt with a student who was noticing in the job ads from his research that they're looking for certain qualifications in a technology. So he signed up for training in his professional association, 40 other people in the room, and he got 7 interviews just by showing up. The reason I chose the image in the background here is when you're collecting all of this intel, you're going to be using it to see where the patterns are, where the connections are, all that analytical stuff and all those connecting the dots that you've been learning in school the past couple of years. This is one exercise to do if you're kind of wondering and expanding on where those potential jobs could be. So just write down lists, buzzwords of job titles that you see. Put it into Google or a job search engine, but don't restrict the industries. Put very open and just see what pops up. What companies are popping up? What industries that surprised you that's popping up? This is a mental exercise that really can help you, expand your thinking around where the possible jobs could be in the market. So one of the ways that we job search, as I'm sure you know, is engagement and connection. And the intent with this isn't necessarily to look for jobs or look for people who have a job for you. This is about starting to connect, letting people know you exist. And the great way to do that is through your network A, which is the people that know you and like you and need to know what type of job you're looking for, what your expertise are, so that when they're having conversations with their colleagues or neighbors, and if a piece of intel drops in their lap, they know that that would be a great piece of information for you and get it back to you and put some feelers out there. The network B is a way to connect with people out there who are in your industry. With COVID right now, a lot of people are working from home, and because they're not commuting and it's easy to hop onto a meeting, it may be easy for people to do informational interviews over a Zoom call, right? It's a great opportunity for you to ask questions. You have a great opportunity here because you're just graduating. You don't really know what's the lay of the land. You want to know what's going to be changes through COVID. And this is a great excuse to connect with somebody. Are there alumni groups that you need to be connected with? Are there conversations or conferences that you need to be engaged in? Where are the like-minded people that have the power to hire you? So informational interviewing is always a very, very powerful tool. And this is where you connect with someone, almost like mini mentoring. The key here is when you make that meeting is to be very clear on your intent. When you ask a meeting to have, if you're looking for a job, and if people don't have a job at the moment, they tend to say, no, 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 I don't. But if you ask for the intent of getting information, to develop your network, to seek little mentoring, people are more likely to say yes. And then you have people that know you exist. These are some sample questions that you may want to ask to collect intel. One of the questions you always want to ask is, who else should I be speaking to? Always collect names. And the question that seems to get the most traction in my experience has been, what am I not asking you? Because as a new grad and someone who's at the peripheral of your degree, of your new career, there's an unconscious unknowing. You don't even know what you don't know because you're not engaged yet. So that's a great way to get some intel that's kind of can be very direct and very helpful. The last thing is to know your worth. In my 15 years of working with students, one of the biggest things I notice is that students undervalue what they bring to the table. So employers are not necessarily looking from a new grad for expertise. They're looking for an attitude and an aptitude. So if you have learned negotiation skills, or if you learn to analyze information from case studies, from class projects, that is relevant. So start to make a categorize your list of skills. The next column is kind of brainstorm where you've developed those skills to remind you that there's many different places you have. And then choose one and write it out into a detailed example that explains your thought process and how you would do that skill and what that skill looks like when it's out in play. The most important piece here is the so what. So bring it back to the employer. Let them know that why it's relevant. If you're using your experience on varsity hockey team to demonstrate your ability to work within a team, the employer may have no idea the intensity of that position and that intensity of those skill set that you're learning there. So that's why it's really important to bring that back to them. So if you're feeling stuck this week and don't know where to start, what's one thing that you're going to do this week to collect intel on your career? What is one way you could engage with people or events this week? And what are 3 things that a potential employers need to know about you? These are all things to think about. You can always make an appointment with me. These are just this is a session today to plant some seeds. If you walk away with one new idea, it's a win. You can email me anytime to set up an appointment. I am here to support you, even through pandemics and closures. Good luck, one step at a time.